Welcome to this edition of the Maz's Musings podcast. Today I am going to be joined by Emily Carlson of We Do Travel Right to talk about everything from D3 2024, the ultimate Disney fan event. Now, I just call it the D23 Expo because that's what it used to be, and it's much easier to say. But anyway, lots of great news coming out of Disney. Specifically, we're going to be talking about Walt Disney World and Disney Cruises because those are two areas that are both my and Emily's wheelhouse. I want to thank Emily for joining me, and I also want to thank you for listening. And as always, I want to thank you for helping us grow this podcast. Thank you to everybody who has shared the podcast, who has written a review, or has visited our social media. We've got the Maz's Musings podcast Facebook page, and we also have Maz's Musings pod on Instagram and Threads. So if you have not checked those out yet, I encourage you to do so. And if you haven't left a review, please do so because it helps more people find the podcast because of the algorithms and all the way that stuff works. So Emily has graciously taken a little bit of her time before she is actually going on her own Walt Disney vacation trip. Eileen and I just got back from ours, a whirlwind trip where we had a lot of fun. We did a whole bunch of new experiences, and I'm sure we're going to talk about those shortly, maybe a bonus episode coming up. But in the meantime, here is Emily, and we're going to talk about some of the great things that came out of D23 Expo and what they mean for the Disney parks and Disney Cruise Line. And here we go.
Donald, wake up! It's showtime! Don't forget the orchestra!
Ah, there you are. And just in time.
Mom says there's even more magical stuff now.
For those of you standing, please hold on to the handrails throughout our journey and stay clear of the doors.
Hang on to them hats and glasses, because this here's the wildest ride in the wilderness.
And here we go!
All right, I am here with Emily Carlson from We Do Travel Right. Thank you very much for joining me, Emily, as always.
I love coming on. Yes, it's just so fun. I love talking Disney with you because we are on the same wavelength with just like how much we love the parks and how much we love Disney, period. So it's always fun.
So there's a lot of stuff that has come out. Obviously, the D23. I'm just going to call it the D23 Expo because the other name is just so long, and everybody refers to it as the Expo anyway. So, we've had the D23 Expo that just happened. Even before that, there was a little bit of news, especially some stuff about the Disney Destiny for Disney Cruise Lines that dropped. So, I thought it'd be great for us to get together and talk about some of this news and kind of just get some initial reactions and thoughts on what this all means and how it all ties together.
Absolutely.
And of course, my family being Disney World people and you being a Disney World expert as well as a cruise expert, we're going to focus on those. There were some other announcements about Disneyland and about the overseas parks that sound great, but also aren't.
These are the ones that matter.
Right. Well,
things.
and this is what matters to me, and it's my podcast.
Yeah,
so
yeah, exactly.
It's also what I know. Like I could talk about the other things, but I don't have the familiarity to really expound upon anything.
These are exciting possibilities because what's going to happen. I mean, that's stuff that you're going to get to experience with your family. So, of course, that's what we want to focus on because we're excited about that stuff.
Right. So we're going to start with some of the park experience news for Walt Disney World that came out of D23. And we'll start off small. We're gonna ramp our way up here. So we'll start that they announced, and this was something that I think that we had heard something about before, but they announced a Pirates of the Caribbean themed lounge at Magic Kingdom.
Yes, I have so many questions about this in particular because, as we know, it's kind of been one of those things where Magic Kingdom has just never had anything like that because it was the idea that Walt didn't want alcohol in the parks and they were trying to stay true to what he originally wanted. They do have, a beer and wine and stuff in the different restaurants in Magic Kingdom, but this is like a whole new world here. This is a lounge, which I would imagine is going to serve, cocktails or real drinks. I don't know if they've said specifically, but it looks really cool.
It kind of, I mean, and granted, it's concept art, and people getting hung up on concept art is kind of what has created some of the unrest about the whole Communicore Hall thing. It's like, well, it doesn't look like the picture that they showed us 4 years ago.
Right.
But the concept art, I'm kind of like, is this like a Magic Kingdom version of Oga's?
You know what? I thought the exact same thing, which made me really excited, but a little bit kind of like nervous because I do like that Magic Kingdom is more like, not saying that the other parks aren't, but they're more like family friendly. You're not seeing people walking around with drinks. You're not like, it's a different kind of vibe. And I like that. But also like as an adult, like, would it be cool to go into a pirate bar at Magic Kingdom? Like, yes, that would be really cool. So I feel like excited about it, but also how is this going to work? Are people going to be able to take things to go? What kind of stuff is going to be served? How are they going to kind of meet that in the middle? Because I think that there's a lot of people that are feeling a little divided about that.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. One thing that I meant to note off the top is that these are all things that they said they're already in development. These aren't blue sky ideas. So this isn't something that they've thrown out there to us that is going to, then disappear. This is something that is likely to happen at this point. So I'd imagine they've done some manner of market research on this and have an idea on how it's going to go. My guess is I would think they're going to find the happy medium. Like, this is a place you can go for a drink, but you're not taking it with you. Right. So that's my read on it. But of course, like you said, we don't know a lot.
I kind of hope that they go that route and, just to kind of preserve a little bit and, just kind of make it less Epcot-y, more family-friendly Magic Kingdom. But yeah, I would imagine something like that where it's like similar to Oga's where you can have 45 minutes or something like that. And then you're on your way. Please get out. Something, I don't know, something along those lines.
Yeah, I also think people are very protective of Magic Kingdom and that vibe, and I would say that I agree. I've never once complained about the whole alcohol policy. There are people who have, and it's just like I understand why it's there, and you're absolutely right that it does create more of that. That family friendly feel now, and that's coming from me who takes my daughter to breweries and such. So it's not like I'm a prude about any of this stuff. It's just there's a certain quality to it that a certain innocence to it that that Magic Kingdom embraces.
Knowing Disney, I'm sure they'll meet in the middle, and it will try to, as best they can, complement kind of both sides of that spectrum. Because I think that one thing that Disney is really good at is they are really good at keeping tradition, even though it may not be fully what you think. They always, even when they do new rides, there's like little parts and little snippets from past rides or things like that have gone into whatever is new about it. So, Disney will find a way to kind of make everyone happy about what's going to be happening.
So moving on, we're going to go to the Disney Starlight Parade, which is going to be the new nighttime parade
Mhm.
at Magic Kingdom, which truthfully I don't remember the last nighttime parade. You know, that was something that I didn't. If I experienced it, it was so long ago that I don't recall it. So I'm excited to see where this goes. I know that people have been clamoring for one since it went away.
Yep.
So I'm interested to see what they do with this. I've always been a fan of the parades. I wish they'd bring a parade back to the Animal Kingdom, which is a little bit on top of everything else. Eileen and I on our honeymoon were on Mickey's float for that parade.
Oh
So
my
we were very
God.
sad to see that went
Yeah.
away. Getting a little off topic, but yeah. So I'm very excited to see what they end up doing with this. I think that it's going to be pretty cool to see them kind of incorporate a lot of different characters, some old, like, you know, Peter Pan, some of the classic ones that they've done, but incorporating more of the, like, the Encantos and Frozens of the world as well.
Yeah, it seems like they're bringing a lot of the movies that we love that we don't really get to see in the parks and kind of bringing them to the forefront. What I am really excited about this parade is, from what I have heard from various cast members, is that they've been saying for so long that things are kind of feeling stale for them, and they would like to have something new, to learn, have a new routine to learn, have just something fresh. So I'm glad that it seems like that they were listening to what the cast members were saying, is that they wanted something new, something different, something just to make it not feel so stale for them, because they have been doing the same parades for quite some time at this point. And, you know, I mean, I can sing them in my sleep. I can't even imagine how some of the cast members may feel. So I think that that was a really exciting announcement for those who were in entertainment.
So moving on to something even bigger, and also very controversial, I think. I think that this is something that is really going to shake some people, and especially, as I talked about, those people who are protective of,
Mhm.
you know, Magic Kingdom as it is.
Yeah.
It's the new Cars area that they're going to bring to Frontierland. When I first heard this, I was thinking, well, you know, does Cars really fit in Frontierland? And
Mhm.
from what I understand, it's going to be kind of set in this, you know, like one of the rides is going to be like a rally race in the mountains, and I can see that kind of fitting in with, especially with Big Thunder Mountain in the background, and
For
so
sure.
I can see that working now that I've had a little bit more time to deal with it. I think it
Mhm.
was today that they just announced where it's going. How, you know, Tom Sawyer's Island and the Rivers of America is basically going to be gone, and this is going to replace it. So
Really? I mean, I can't imagine why. Li- Listen, I go to Tom Sawyer's Island when the kids just like need to run around, because I don't know if you know this, but there's like a whole playground over there. There's caves you can investigate in, and it's a whole thing. But you can only get like 10 people over there at a time. It's
yeah,
it's so it doesn't make any sense. So that's interesting that they would kind of scrap that whole scenario. But I think that anyone who I've known who has gone to Disneyland has said that that Cars attraction that's at California Adventure is amazing. So I'm kind of hoping maybe it'll be along the lines of something like that, because everyone has said that that is like the coolest ride. And it kind of looks similar to that Big Thunder Mountain area. So maybe it'll be something similar to that.
yeah. I mean, I have heard similar things. I'm wondering if it's going to be a clone of what they have in Disneyland, or if not, how it would be different. Now, like I said, I've never been to Disneyland, so I don't even know exactly what that ride, encompasses. But I'm curious as to whether or not this is going to be something original, and or if it's going to be something like Tomorrowland Speedway, or maybe that's what there's a second attraction that they say is going to be more for the little kids.
I wouldn't mind if they redid that little Tomorrowland Speedway. That
I was
that
gonna
needs a little refresher, I think.
Man, so I mean, they're talking about this cars, the separate cars thing for little kids, and maybe that is Tomorrowland Speedway, and then they have plans for, you know, for what Tomorrowland Speedway is now. But I don't know. I just I'm curious to see how it's all going to fit together. It's really hard sometimes, especially when there's a body of water there right now. How is that going to how is it all going to piece together? How's it going to look? So I'm very curious as to how all that's going to play out.
Certainly one thing that Disney is very good at is problem solving in that way, to the best of their ability. So I know for me, like I'm a very like visual person, so I'm like I don't understand, and that brings us to like talking about the new Villains Land. I just cannot picture like where it is going to be, and I felt like that when they were doing Mine Train. I was like I don't understand where is this going, but they pull it off, and it's just Disney magic. But how do you feel about this idea of the new Villains Land?
So the Villains Land to me is something that I've been hearing about, at least in fan theory, for as long as I've been following, Walt Disney World
Yep.
more intently. So to me, this feels very much like they're just giving people something that they've been asking for 20 years, and they're finally giving it to them. I find it interesting in the sense that, I mean, it's they're the bad guys. They're evil, and it really is a contrast to what a lot of Magic Kingdom is. So I'm curious to see. But I mean, with that, there's also a lot of people who are really into villains. I mean, you see a lot of that in like the Halloween celebration.
Oh,
The
yeah.
villains take such a such a big part of that, and really take center stage in a lot of
Right.
ways.
Well, and even
And
just the Disney ship, I mean, they announced it's like heroes and villains, like good guys and bad guys. So they're again bringing the villains to the forefront. I, I think by the time it's done, I won't have to worry about it because it's going to be in a few years. But my kids are literally, they are in the point of their life right now. And, my kids are 10 and 7, and they're at a point right now where they don't like the bad guys. They don't want anything, like, they don't want anything to do with villains. Like, villains are bad. Like, they're the bad guys. And it's like a huge struggle that they have where they're like, so I don't know that in this point of life right now that they would enjoy that, because they feel this like, weird feeling about it. But, by the time the project's over, which could be, I don't know, 10 years from now, who knows? It's going to be a totally different story. But yeah, I mean, they're giving the people what they want. Absolutely, for sure.
now Megan's the same way. She gets really anxious with things with villains. She really likes Encanto because there's no bad guy, and she'll readily admit that that's one of the reasons she really likes Encanto. I think that this is something that's going to resonate more with older audiences for sure.
Yeah.
I'm also interested. They've done a lot with movie projects in trying to create more gray with villains, like you saw with like Maleficent, and and some other movies. And I've always kind of rejected that concept, because it's just like sometimes it's okay for something bad to just be bad. We don't have to create this gray for everything. But I do wonder if there's going to be that kind of approach to these to this park to kind of soften it a little bit.
Right, like see the good in what who these villains are or whatever it might be.
Yeah, which I
I mean,
mean,
that
to me,
definitely goes along that Descendants route, which is something that they just brought back too, which is, the Disney villains' kids, and they turn out to be good. So I can see a big theme here of incorporating villains into this Disney sphere and making it more like normal.
right. Yeah, I think Once Upon a Time was something similar where there was a lot of that
Mhm.
kind of gray, and so I can see how they may kind of tie some of that stuff in. I'm also very interested to see what they have planned in terms of. They said that there are going to be a couple of two major attractions here.
Mhm.
Um, Again, concept art, but I
Yeah.
looking at the concept art. One of the things seems to be a roller coaster.
Mhm.
So. Um, so we're looking maybe at one coaster and then one other kind of,
Right.
spooky kind of attraction. But
Honestly, what comes to my head when I think of like a villain's land is like I'm thinking of like Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, and like that ride scared the living bejeez out of me as a kid because I mean it just the theming of it when you really think about it as an adult, you're like, this is so not okay
right?
on this ride. But yeah, hopefully we'll soften it a little bit for the kiddos out there.
All right. So we've gotten through Magic Kingdom, unless I've forgotten anything.
I mean, I think we've gotten through the most big stuff that's going on within the parks. So next would be Hollywood Studios.
Yes.
I am so pumped
Me
for
too.
this. I honestly, Monsters Inc. doesn't get enough. I mean, the Laugh Factory at Magic Kingdom is so fun,
Yeah.
but it really deserves its own attraction.
And I think that at some point, I want to say that it was not all that long ago. I mean, I haven't been doing this podcast for very long, but I was doing a movie podcast with another guest, and he actually mentioned something like this as an idea for a ride.
Yeah, like wouldn't it be cool? It is
Yeah,
cool.
and it is, and this so this is something that I'm super stoked about. I'm not. I've grown into being a roller coaster guy. I've never been a big roller coaster fan. And something about roller coasters being inside also, I don't know, I feel safer. I'm not sure exactly why, but
Don't go to Universal because they lay it all
right
right up there for you.
I'm probably going to end up there somewhere at some point because Eileen is a big Harry Potter fan, so
Oh,
I'm sure we're going to get there at some point. But I love the idea of this coaster. I think that it's long overdue for something Monsters Inc. Bigger, than they currently have. The one thing that I wonder is where it's going to go. People are very, very worried that it's going to end up in that in the Muppets area there,
Yeah,
and kind of like take over that
again,
courtyard.
I mean that's the drawings, right? So when you're looking at some of the drawings, you're like, huh, that looks a little bit like that Muppets area. But I think from talking to cast members about it, because I'm like, oh my gosh, Muppets 3D, like talk about stale. But from what I understand, that was like Jim Henson's like final big
Yeah.
like project for him. So I think that if they put that there, then they'll do something to preserve something Muppet wise.
Well, and the thing that Eileen pointed out was another place where you could have that kind of courtyard kind of thing is where the launch bay is right now.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
And that seems like something that could make sense.
Mm-hmm.
And even if you took that launch bay area with that meeting area, I'm just saying there's there's a whole Star Cruiser there that there's nothing happening with right now. So.
I really thought we were going to get some type of announcement as to what was happening with the Star Cruiser. So staying in this Hollywood Studios theme, really thought that we were going to get some answers with that one, but guess not.
And I know that was really a heartbreaking closure for you.
Oh,
I never
so
had the
sad.
chance to experience it, and truthfully, I'll readily, the price point was just
Oh,
like,
I mean, it was out of control. It
yeah,
just
yeah,
it really wasn't taking into consideration like realistically what people could do. And I know why it was expensive is because these, the actors and the entertainment, I mean, it was just unreal. They were ad-libbing all of these things and performing these wonderful performances. But I mean, when you don't have anyone to come see it, that's not
right,
really that great.
yeah. It basically, I like you just pointed out, I understood all the reasons why. When I saw all of the things that went into this, I understood all the reasons why it cost what it cost.
Hmm.
But it was when you're doing the calculus for that, you
Yeah,
really have to take into account, who is actually going to be able to go.
for sure.
And I
Gosh,
think
they
that,
spent so much money like putting this place together that
yeah,
is so amazing. So I really thought we were going to get an announcement about maybe doing some kind of like I hate to say this, but like a hoop-de-doo type of like dinner and performance, and then you're on your way, but you're in this immersive environment for like 4 hours or whatever. But I guess we'll have to wait on that one.
there's always the next one.
Always the next one. Always next year. All right, we're heading over to Animal Kingdom next.
Yes, I mean, this is something that we've heard about for a while, but
Hmm.
finally getting some confirmation that it's actually happening.
Hmm.
They're going to replace Dinoland USA, which always to me felt a little out of place. They're going to replace that with Tropical America's Pueblo Esperanza.
Hmm.
Um, and within that, there's going to be an Indiana Jones ride, which is going to replace Dinosaur,
Hmm.
which I'm guessing it's basically going to be a new overlay. Honestly, I can see that ride and that ride system still working for you know for Indiana Jones versus Dinosaur. So
Yeah, I think so too.
I think we're just going to get a different story with that.
Hmm.
So um, I'm not necessarily. Dinosaur was one of those ones that I felt was getting a bit dated, a little bit old. It was one of those things that I was, if I missed it, I wasn't sad about it anymore. So,
Same.
um,
I'm
and
okay with this. I think Animal Kingdom really needs a little bit more to it, because as of right now, they don't have a ton of rides as we would consider them, like attractions to go do. There's lots of great walking trails. You can go on the Rafiki's train over and check out some animals and things like that. But it really needs like some more new kind of, I don't know, more things for kids to do.
yeah, no, and I think that especially that's where the new Encanto themed ride is going to come in, and it seems like that's going to be something where, from what they've said, you're in Casita, just after Antonio has gotten his gift. So it's funny because I just did a segment of a recent podcast with Megan where she was saying that she would love to see a ride where like you're in a car and you're going through Casita. So this is again, we don't have a lot of details, but
Mhm.
this seems to be really hitting the right audience if Megan is any indication.
Yeah. It makes sense to me. I'm good. I'm good with these improvements at Animal Kingdom because much like how you were describing, the dinosaur aspect didn't really like make much sense to me. Just being at Animal
Yeah.
Kingdom, but I get it. Everyone loves dinosaurs. I understand that. But so excited about anything Zootopia because
Oh,
that makes so much sense to me.
so first off, I just want to I'm going to circle back to Dinoland USA just for a second
Yep.
because I'm one of like 5 people on the planet who actually liked Primeval Whirl.
Oh my gosh.
I
You
was
made
sad
me
when they closed that ride because it was just this fun, silly little ride, and people hated it, and I was just like, oh, I think with a park that had so few rides, it was just like, this is just another fun thing to do. I do hope that they still have that area where you can like dig for bones, because I mean, 3-year-old
Oh
Megan
yeah.
was just like, we had to drag her out of there kicking and screaming, literally kicking
Mhm.
and screaming, because it was time to go do something else. But
I think that they'll keep that. I mean, that is so popular. It's always busy. It's really cool in there. I think that they'll keep something similar
yeah,
to that, because the
I
thing
would.
is that these parks they need shade, and they need a place for kids to play. And they've been saying for a while they were going to do something like that similar at Hollywood Studios, and they haven't yet. And it's kind of a bummer, because you don't know how much you need that shade until you're
Right.
traveling with kids and it's really, really hot.
Especially at Toy Story Land, where the Imagineers couldn't have imagined a tree in Andy's backyard.
No, it's so like there's no shade over there. It's just it's brutal. So hopefully they'll keep that at Animal
That,
Kingdom.
of course, they don't put any shade there so that they can sell more adult lemonades.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Okay, sorry. Getting back to getting back to Zootopia. A, I love Zootopia. I think it's a great movie. B, I have a searing hatred for It's Tough to Be a Bug. Like, I mean, I am on record as like I walk out of that show and I want to light the Tree of Life on fire.
Yeah. It's so unfortunate, because there's kids screaming, everyone's crying. It's just
Yeah.
it's pleasant. It's
I-
not fun.
I think one other time I said to somebody that I actually hold a personal grudge against the creators of A Bug's Life, because that movie exists, this attraction exists.
Yep.
And it's just it feels like it's designed to make kids cry, and it's just it's not fun for anybody.
No, it's because then we have to pick up the pieces when our kids are hysterical because they felt a bug crawl under their butt. It's
Right.
like not fun.
So I'm all for redoing this for
Yes.
a bunch of reasons, not only the negative ones towards that, but
Mhm.
also towards I just it's such an underrated movie as far as I'm concerned.
Mhm.
I think that it's long overdue for them to have something like this.
For sure.
And I know that they aren't your typical animals, but we've done enough finagling with Animal Kingdom. I mean,
Mhm.
dinosaurs, okay, kind of
Right.
fit in. You've got Pandora, which doesn't really have any connection to animals on Earth
Still wondering
whatsoever.
about that one, but
And I love that area. That Pandora area is
Oh,
absolutely gorgeous.
yes. But so like as compared to like Zootopia, like I feel like that makes sense to me.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yep. So very, very excited about that one. As far as Animal Kingdom goes, like having something that I'm actually going to look forward to that's in the Tree of Life, which is such, an iconic
Yeah, and fun to kind of explore
part of
around
the
there too. So it'll
Yeah.
it'll just be nice to have a little refresh of things.
Right. Yep. Honestly, I've kind of like avoided parts of the Tree of Life because I didn't want, hey, what's that, Daddy? And because I don't. Nope, we're not going to do that.
Nope, not doing that. Nope.
That's not for your benefit, Megan. That's for my benefit.
Right, exactly. I can't pick up the pieces one more time, guys. We're not doing it.
All right, so moving on to Epcot, which had really kind of the least amount of exciting news, but of course, Epcot has just recently, I mean, you could have called it Walt Disney World, because the walls are finally down. We finally got to experience the new Journey of Water, which was awesome, and kind of explored that new area.
They did such a great job. Did you check out the Communicore?
So I didn't get over to the hall. We did do the Mickey and Friends meet and greet that's over
Yeah.
there.
Yep.
And we walked by while they were doing one of the Encanto shows. So we
Yeah.
did, get a glimpse at that. Yeah, didn't actually go into Communicore Hall, but
I mean, you get the vibe though. So like everything at Epcot now just feels so new and it feels so
yeah,
different because you can actually go places and see things without going around these huge walls. So I wasn't surprised that there weren't many things that were coming out of Epcot because there's just so many things that have happened as of late. The reimagined test track is definitely needed.
yeah.
I'm thrilled for that because it was very tired, so it needs a little refresh. And then what worries me though is the Spaceship Earth Lounge. So to me, like, I don't know if that going to be competing with Space 220. That seems like kind of on the same wavelength, I guess, because it's like spaceship. I mean, not really space, more like history. So how are they going to make that a little different?
Yeah, I didn't really understand. I don't think that that's something that people are necessarily clamoring for. So
Mhm.
I
Also, there's a lot of places to go in Epcot, which is what I don't understand. I'm like, we're doing another place, another lounge, another place to, get drinks. There it just seems
yeah.
like there's so many places, especially like around in the countries. I don't know. I
Now
was like,
the one thing that I thought was thinking about with this was this would make a lot more sense if they were saying this is going to be the new permanent Disney Vacation Club lounge.
mhm,
Something like
right.
that would have made sense. It would also have made sense as to why they haven't reopened the existing one right now, which
Mhm.
I guess is an elevator problem or something. I don't know, but it was still closed when we were there, and it was supposed to be open anyway. But yeah, so I mean, I don't I don't necessarily see the need for it. I don't really understand what they're
Mhm.
aiming for with it. I also can't particularly picture where it would be.
Mhm. I
Um,
The other thing too is, and I think it was maybe before COVID, they had said that they were going to shut down Spaceship Earth and they were going to do a whole like refresh and they reimagine it. And then obviously pandemic and everything, and then they brought it back, and there was no talk again of changing it. So
right.
I don't. Who
And
knows?
it needs it. We were obviously just there, and so this is also going back to there's a little bit of story here. So this is all going back to talking about the walls and how you
Mhm.
can get places more easily.
Oh, totally.
We had the behind the scenes tour scheduled for 12:30, and we had a lightning lane for Spaceship Earth. Yes, I know it was ridiculous. We got to, but we had to pick the three, to
Yep.
start, to get the ball rolling with the whole thing. So we were over. We were over in like the Journey of Water area, and Eileen was just like, "Well, I don't. Maybe we should modify that Spaceship Earth that we had for before the tour, because I don't know if we'll make it there
Right.
and back in time." And I said, "Well, it's right there. The walls aren't there anymore,
Right.
so
You
we can
don't have to
just
go around.
so." And so we got on it just fine, but then it ended up breaking down. Like we were on the ride, and we've got I mean, it ended
Yeah.
up going
Yeah,
again, but we
it's
were
so
sitting there for
smart.
a while and kind of going, "We've got this tour at 12:30. Let's get this moving." And like I love Spaceship Earth. I love the message of it. I
Mhm.
it just needs a polishing, honestly.
Yep.
I don't think you need to reinvent the wheel with it, but it does need, it does need a refresh.
Yeah, I mean,
So
I'll be honest, my kids can spit back information from Spaceship Earth, and I'm like, "Huh, where did you learn?" And they're like, "The ride at Disney." I'm like, "Oh, okay. Papyrus, that just came out of you right now. All right.
right.
So, thank you, Disney."
Oh yeah, and like it's one of those Megan asks a million questions when we're on that ride. We love the ride. It's just,
Yeah.
just take some time, freshen it up, do a
Hmm.
little polishing, and I think that it would be all right.
For
Um,
sure.
yeah,
But
but
exciting things are coming down, I am excited for the future of Disney and Disney parks. I hope that we don't have to wait too long for some of these projects, because I know that they have started these projects, but and how long Tron took. I mean,
right.
I really hope that we get to enjoy some of these things when our kids are still wanting to hang out with us, and still vacation with us, I guess.
Yeah. Well, circling back just to the lounge for a minute, one of the things Eileen, and this is somewhat related to the lounges, one of the things Eileen and I were noticing about the new the new areas like around Communicore is they've incorporated a lot more places where you can sit, and there are trees, and Epcot's a place where another place where there previously is not a lot of shade, so
Mhm.
they've actually kind of created these spaces that can kind of be gathering spaces, or
Mhm.
places where you can go and eat and stuff like that. So they've already incorporated some of this space. It's outdoors, but there's more of this space, that
It's
I
kind of like
don't.
a brewery vibe, like that
Yeah,
Communicore area.
yeah,
It's kind of like, when you bring your kids to a brewery, there's like lawn games, there's places to sit, there's shade, there's music. So it kind of has like that vibe, like they're keeping up with the times of like what people enjoy doing. They enjoy going to a brewery because they can enjoy their time as an adult. Their kids can enjoy their time too, and everyone is happy. So
yeah.
they're taking
So
that.
I don't. So with all that in mind, I don't see where this fits in. But
Mhm. Time will tell.
I
Maybe in 10 years, I don't know.
and like I said, I just can't picture where it would be and where they'd put it where it wouldn't disrupt the
Honestly,
traffic flow that we finally got back.
the only thing I can think of is, when you come out of Spaceship Earth and you come out to this like play area that like all of those things haven't worked in years. It always says like
Right.
action order doesn't work. Maybe somewhere like that, because it's a huge space and there's nothing works anymore.
That's true.
So that
Yeah,
just
we
seems
couldn't
wasted.
even get our little postcard thing the last
No,
time. It couldn't find us.
no, sad. For a place that has such great technology, has terrible technology.
Right. Okay, so now we're going to pivot a little bit. We're still talking Disney experiences, but much different. We're going to talk about some cruise. We had originally one of the things we were going to talk about when um, we were first going to do this podcast
Yep.
before life just blew up and I was running off to Florida and
Sure.
all kinds of crazy stuff. We're gonna talk about you're working on a whole bunch of stuff that related to the Disney Destiny.
Oh man, I am just. I was excited for the treasure. I'm still really excited for the treasure, but the Destiny feels different, and I really like that. It doesn't feel so like cookie cutter from all the other, cruise ships that we've been introduced to. So when we heard about the treasure, it was kind of like, okay, well, it's really similar to the Wish. So
Mhm.
I know that it's related, but this felt really cool. The announcement of the incorporation of more Lion King stuff was exciting because our family is a huge Lion King fans over here, and it just felt kind of different and more outside the box. I don't know how I feel yet about so much incorporation of Marvel, which I know sounds like so weird because I love Marvel, but I still am not like, I don't know. I still need to like realize that they're one and the same now, and that's hard.
Right.
It still doesn't feel like they're together, but I know that they are.
No, yeah. I mean, I very similarly. I still view Marvel and truthfully, to an extent, Star Wars. I still view them
Yeah.
as separate entities, even though they are. Even though they're obviously all owned by Disney. One of
Hmm.
the things that I really like about Galaxy's Edge in the parks, or in at Disney World is there does feel like there's this transition to it. It's not
Mhm.
just like, here's Star Wars inside of Disney,
Yeah.
which is a lot harder to have those kinds of transitions to things on a cruise ship.
Mhm.
It's just it's all there. So
Yeah. I think that this ship though, it opens up a lot of questions for me as far as um are we going to see the Star Wars at sea come back? Are we going to only have that ship do Marvel at sea? Like, what's the theming that's going to happen? Because they used to do the Star Wars one, and everyone's been asking for that to come back. So that would be a really good spot for it. Also, at the expo, they were saying that there's like tons of new ships that are coming.
yeah.
And I don't know if they're all going to be based in the US. Maybe some of them are going to be based in the Mediterranean or, you know, over, in Asia. But it made me hopeful that if we do get more ships, then the price point will come down, because right now it's like a supply and demand issue. There's too
Mhm.
many people that want to cruise. The cruise ships are always full. The uh, people haven't people haven't been able to, like, last minute book something because it's too late. There's not any of that availability, so that makes me feel hopeful that if they have more, the supply and demand will kind of work itself out a little bit.
Yeah, I think that I had seen something. I think it was on the Disney Cruise Line uh, website when they did this announcement of, what was it, 4 new ships by 2031,
Yeah.
which when you say it sounds like it's so far away, but it's really not, and that makes me
Mhm.
feel really old. But um, they were saying that their ships have been at like 97% capacity,
Yeah.
which, to what you're saying,
Mhm.
there's such demand for it, and not really the space to accommodate to this point. And truthfully, I get it. It
I
was,
mean, that's why they had to start building, more hotel spaces, because the I mean, the hotels are sold out. They're pretty full,
yeah.
except for the summertime. The summertime is just a unique set of circumstances. But I mean, I was just quoting someone for October, which seems far away, but in Disney timeline, it's like, oh, that's a little last minute, because the offerings that were available on Monday were not available on Tuesday because
Hmm.
people booked them up. So I'm hoping that that kind of works itself out with Disney Cruise, because I think that a lot of people want to get back into that type of vacation or want to explore that vacation. And people don't necessarily plan like a year in advance. So there has to be something that people can decide upon in like 6 months' time or 4 months' time and have it work itself out, because right now, they're all full.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I did wonder if this was them bringing on these new ships was going to mean some of the older ships are going to be retired, but
Mhm.
it doesn't seem that way. They're talking about this brings our fleet up to, I think it was
Right.
13 ships. So hopefully that does do what you're
Mhm.
looking for, and creates more availability.
Mhm.
Um, I think that there's also the opportunity, because we now have the two Caribbean destinations,
Mhm.
that there's a little bit more flexibility there with adding some ships to that, because
Mhm.
being on the East Coast myself, that's probably most likely where we're headed if we're heading on a cruise.
Right. The only thing I was thinking is that one of the oldest ships is the Wonder, which is out in does Alaska,
Yeah.
and that is Alaskan cruises across all of different cruise lines are so hot right now. People want to do Alaskan cruises. They're so unique and so cool. Just the different port stops alone are incredible. The nature is incredible. So the only thing I could see maybe happening is maybe we replace that with like a bigger ship to accommodate more people to do those types of cruises. And the Wonder has not had any type of refurbishment, whereas the Magic has, which is its sister ship. So Who knows? We'll see. It's fun. It's fun to try to figure out what they're going to do next because we can never guess it right.
And it's, it's funny because that is one of the things that I really want to do is an Alaskan cruise, and it's something that I've wanted to do for years. I, for a long time, I was just like, if I ever do a cruise, it will be the Alaskan cruise. And Eileen thought that I was weird for that, but yeah, now having done a couple of cruises, one of them being a Disney cruise, I'm like, yeah, I could definitely do a Disney cruise again, but I still also want to do the Alaska cruise. So
it seems really cool. That's on my bucket list of things that I want to do too, but it'll have to wait a little bit. I think it's just the kids got to get a little bit older.
Yeah, and I mean, we also have all of this new stuff that they've been talking about coming out. Well, I almost said soon, but it's not going to be soon. Some of it was like,
and that's what I love about Disney. It's always changing. It's always new and fresh and interesting and exciting, and that's why I love it so much because it's always just in creative mode all the time, and I appreciate that, and I love that about Disney.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that there are some people who are hesitant for these changes because they remember it being a certain way when they were a kid, and things like that. Like, to this day, I'm just like, man, I may have been in the minority, but I, as a kid, really loved the 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea ride. Like that was, on top. That was something that I had been reading the book with my mom when we went to Disney World and went on that ride. So that was something that, so I understand why people don't want things to change. But it really is one of Walt Disney's core beliefs was that the park is always going to be changing,
Right.
as long as there's imagination, that it's always going to be changing. So I certainly I may not love every idea, but I appreciate that this is constantly a work in progress. That is constantly it's constantly evolving and constantly growing. So
absolutely, totally.
I think the one thing people also have to realize and understand is that it's a limited amount of space, so eventually there are things that are going to have to go. You talk about expansion, you can only expand so far, especially because they built the place on swampland. So so you've got to sometimes I'm sure that for the Imagineers that these are hard decisions for them too. They could be something that they love themselves that that
they created even, or that they thought up, or it was part of their childhood and how they experienced the parks. But Walt has always said like this. The story's just, it's not ever going to be done because there's just so many more stories to tell and so many more experiences and imagination and all of those things. So I love that.
Well, and seeing that also extend to the cruise line with more ships and, they're able to tell more stories that way as well. It's all very, very exciting. So
it is.
Now, if only they can hold on to one system for booking, lightning lanes for more than 10 minutes,
I know.
And finally,
I like when they change stuff because it just keeps me going, and it keeps me in business because people need help. So I like that.
Yes, if you haven't taken advantage of the seminars that Emily and her team put together, I wholeheartedly endorse them, suggest that you do them. I'm not only a friend of Emily's, I'm also a client. So, so yeah, it's been great. I mean, but it's funny because I had just gotten my Genie Plus, strategy down, and then they changed it on me. So
shake it up.
I will say I did not find the lightning they they gave the worst name for this. It's
I know.
it's a constant tongue tie. The Lightning Lane Multipass was not terrible to use.
Mm-hmm.
I would say it was actually a little bit more intuitive from what I experienced. A lot of it felt like, with the tiers and things like that, felt more
Mm-hmm.
like the old Fast Pass when you could book them in advance.
Yeah.
I would say on our last trip, just for everybody listening who's not completely aware, we had a whirlwind trip where we had 2 park days, and we ended up doing the Halloween party. So we hit 3 parks, and I would say that especially without Test Track,
Mm-hmm.
really not necessary for Epcot.
Yeah. I think definitely
and
like the Hollywood Studios and the Magic Kingdom, like, yes.
Hollywood Studios, that one was great. The one ride that we did not get on
Slinky
was
Dog.
by our choice. It was
Okay.
Smuggler's Run.
Okay.
Was by our choice because it was literally 100 degrees and we
Yeah.
needed
It was
to
time.
take a break
Mhm.
before the party, because we would have just flamed out at the party if
Yeah.
but yeah, I thought that it was easy to use. It was one of those things where we made our selections, and then we could strategize what we're going to do. So we got Rock and Roller Coaster because we were only there for a shorter day at Hollywood Studios because of the party. There, we basically were looking for things in the morning.
Yep.
So we hit Rock and Roller Coaster, like that was the one in that level that we selected, and so we said, okay, we're gonna rope drop Slinky Dog so that we can get that in. So
Nice.
once you have at least, like, you have a little bit of the structure, it
Mhm.
helps formulate how you're gonna plan the
Yeah.
rest of your day. So
I mean, I think you guys played it right. You gotta get in there and you gotta burn that first one. You gotta
Yeah.
get going, get the process going, and then it just kind of makes it a lot easier to get more stuff in if that's what your goal is for your park day anyway.
Well, and that's it. At Epcot, like, I booked the Seas with Nemo, which is a 5-minute wait, but it had an early one, so I
Yep.
booked that so then I could use it and then get the next one. So,
Right.
so yeah, I don't listen to me. Listen to Emily, and pay attention to her seminars, and also you're going on your trip shortly, and you're
Yes.
going to be kind of doing a little deep dive into this as well.
Yes, I'm excited. I'm going to, we're going on Thursday, so we're going to be there early in the morning and just kind of see how we can maximize everything, and if there's any, tricks that I think that there are. So I'm going to try some of them out and see how it all goes and give everyone the play-by-play. So
All right. So where can people follow you to follow that process?
So you can head on over to We Do Disney Right over on Instagram or Facebook. And also We Do Travel Right also on Instagram and Facebook. And, we've got people in the parks all the time. We travel a lot. We try to showcase on my page, mostly Disney, but We Do Travel has a lot of other travel locations that you can kind of look at and explore. But we love traveling and we love sharing that with everybody. So head on over.
All right. And if you guys are interested in taking a vacation or interested in finding out more about a vacation, Emily and her team can hook you up with, regardless of whether it's Disney or otherwise, they can hook you up with a professional who will walk you through the process. And you can do that at wedotravelright.com/Mazza. And you can get a free quote with no obligation, and they'll steer you in the right direction to the person that can help you on your next vacation.
Absolutely.
And trust me, like we used We Do Travel Right for this vacation. We were able to get the tickets for the first day of the Halloween party, which was awesome, and that was something that sold out very quickly. So
Oh yeah.
I was appreciative to your team for that. Really helped us out with getting the dining that we were looking for. The boathouse was excellent, by the way. It was my first time there, so
awesome. I love boathouse. It's a good spot.
So you guys are awesome, and I can't recommend you enough.
I appreciate that. And for those of you who don't know too, using a travel agent is 100% free. They actually build in the cost of using a travel agent. So whether you use one or not, you still pay for the service. So you might as well get the service because you pay for it. So it's totally free to use a travel agent.
Alrighty. Well, this episode will be dropping on Friday morning, so you'll already be in Florida enjoying your Disney vacation. So everybody who wants to follow along, you'll have the opportunity to look back at what she's done so far and keep following through the entire thing, especially the new Lightning Lane multi-pass feature and multi-pass and single pass you're doing as well. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Chris. I appreciate it. I love talking Disney with you.
It's always a pleasure. And of course, now I'm still on my Disney high, having just gotten back. So I really appreciate you taking the time. And
for sure.
Eileen and I are going to also be doing probably a bonus episode where we're going to kind of not do a full trip report, but kind of a recap on what was really a whirlwind trip.
As you should. I want to hear her perspective.
I may even ask her about security at MCO, because that
you definitely should.
For an airport that has as much traffic as it does, I can never. Well, I can. It's never efficient. And the truth is, it's because they don't have to be. They know that you don't have another option, or
exactly.
They're the easiest option. So anyway, that's awesome. That's a whole different topic.
Absolutely. We can go on a whole tangent. But until next time, thank you again so much. And I can't wait to get to Disney myself.
All right. Have a great time.
All right. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you. Well, one thing that Emily and I forgot to mention during our conversation is we have teamed up for a pretty cool giveaway. If you want to win a Disney Cruise Line tumbler straight from Lookout Cay at Lighthouse Point, well, we've got you covered, and you can sign up by going to Instagram. Here's how you sign up. Follow We Do Disney Right, which is Emily's Instagram account, and the podcast's Instagram account at Mazza's Musings Pod. And you go in and you like and share the post for the giveaway. You also comment with your favorite Disney park or Disney Cruise Line ship and tag 3 of your Disney-loving pals. Then, to confirm your entry, go to wedotravelright.com/Mazza. You also get a bonus entry if you subscribe to the Mazza's Musings podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. So the giveaway ends August 28th at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, and the winner will be announced on the first episode in September. I believe it's September 6th. And the winner will be contacted by Emily at her We Do Travel Right email address. Of course, this contest is not at all associated with Instagram or Disney. But if you want to get your hands on a really cool and unique tumbler, you can get a look at it by going on to Instagram. Head over to Instagram, like and share to your heart's content, comment and tag, and do all those wonderful things, and you will be in the running. Good luck, everybody.
Now I can't do any more damage around this popsicle stand.
So long, partner.
See you real soon.
hey, thanks very much for joining me on this episode, and thank you very much to Emily for taking all the time to talk with me about all of the exciting things, whether it's at Magic Kingdom, Epcot, some really exciting stuff for Hollywood Studios, and also some great stuff for Animal Kingdom. Really across the board, some exciting things for all of the parks at Walt Disney World, plus a little bit of a window into what we're going to be seeing with the Disney Destiny, and then a bunch of new ships that are going to be coming out from 2027 to 2031, which seems like a long way off, but really isn't. We're going to see this stuff kind of happen over the course of time, over the next few years. There's going to be stages when things are going to be shut down, reopened, built. It's going to be a process. And that's one thing we have to remember with all of this is they announced it, but that doesn't mean that it's happening right away. We're going to have to be a little patient. We're going to have to see how it all plays out. But I'm really excited about the concepts that we've seen, and excited about the fact that they were very clear that these are not blue sky concepts. These are not things that they are just throwing out there and saying, hey, wouldn't this be a great idea? No, this is things where there is active development, whether there's shovels in the grounds, whether there's permits being filed, whatever. This is something that is happening. Each and every one of these things is going to happen. Whether it happens exactly the way that it's been showed to us right now, not sure. But that's part of the reason why they're so vague on the specifics right now. Once again, thank you very much for listening. If you have not left a review, if you have not visited our social media, if you have not visited our website, mazasmusings.wordpress.com, please do that. I encourage you to find out as much as you can about this podcast and tell as many people as you can to help us grow, to help us spread the message. We're all about trying to have some fun and try to keep things as positive as possible on this podcast. So if you know people who are looking for something like that, something that's just a little fun, talks about a few different things and a lot of Disney, then please let everybody know. And I appreciate everybody who has taken the time to this point. And I hope you have a great weekend and a great week.